Hello and welcome to Culture Shark. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today is one of our movie episodes. Today we are looking at the 1960 classic, The Apartment, that won Best Picture and several other Academy Awards. And this is one that I was not familiar with. And
I wasn't either.
so before we get started, I don't usually do this, and I don't usually like trigger warnings, but I will, in this case, I will throw up a trigger warning. This film does deal with the S word that we are not allowed to say on YouTube. And if you or someone you love is dealing with self harm or self deletion, uh, you know, please get help. Things do get better.
Unaliving, I think is
Yeah,
what the kids say now.
yeah, yeah. Please get help. There are people who love you, and God loves you, and you know, like I said, things will get better. And when I'm in that mood, It's a Wonderful Life always
Yeah,
helps. So
it's definitely a
uh,
different movie than It's a Wonderful Life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just want to get that out of the way. All right. So the way we do our reviews is we do a non-spoiler review. I'll give a brief description of the synopsis and what we thought of the film and where you can watch it, and then we'll do a more spoilery review for those who have actually seen the film.
hmm
So, this is a Billy Wilder movie. He made Some Like It Hot, Irma La Douche, and some of the other great films that I have enjoyed over the years. And this stars Jack
Jack Lemmon.
Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred McMurray. And this is about a guy that works in, I guess it's an insurance firm. That's right. They keep talking about
hmm
insurance.
Yep, he's
And
like an insurance broker or something.
yeah, and he's trying to get a promotion. And so what is happening is the execs are using his apartment for trysts and affairs and whatever. And he just leaves them the key and he goes somewhere else. And they keep putting in good words for him to have a promotion. That's the very brief synopsis of what this is. Uh, this film kind of does a magic trick halfway through. It kind of starts out as I don't know if you want to call it a romantic comedy, um, but then halfway through it turns into a drama.
Yeah,
It changes on you, and it does it really well. It took a really dark left turn all of a sudden. I was like, "Oh, well, where are we going?" And like I said, it does it quite well. Um, I love Jack Lemmon. He's great. I'm starting to become a Shirley MacLaine fan. Every time I see those two together, they have really great chemistry together, and it's weird seeing Fred McMurray as a villain. he, he is a he started several Disney films. He was I think, was it Father Knows Best or My Three Sons, one of those he was on. And
he was the Shaggy Dog, man.
yeah, it's weird seeing him play a villain. Um Also, this is another Ray Walston movie. We were not planning that, but he is in this also. We saw him in The Sting a couple weeks ago. Um and I always just saw him as My Favorite Martian, so he does have range. He can play different
Yeah,
characters.
absolutely he does.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, this movie is pretty funny until it's not. And even then, it still has its humorous moments. It is black and white, and I tell people, do not let that scare you away from a movie. You're missing some really great films that are in black and white. Um, and This movie has a lot of heart, and it is a brutal look at the effects that affairs have on people. And
And I do want to talk about that a little bit because just to just to go ahead and give like a brief my feelings, which may not be so brief. I actually don't know how I felt about this movie,
Okay.
uh, because um, I there are some things that like there's some things that I generally have no interest in watching. One of them being like films about uh adultery and whatnot. Uh, and by the way, I went into this completely blind. I had no idea what this is about. And so initially, whenever I was watching this and it was a comedy, I wasn't feeling it because I'm like, oh, I don't like making jokes around this. But then as it became a drama and like the negative effects that something like this can have, that's whenever I'm like, okay, I'm kind of digging this now because it's actually showing like the negative effects that this thing can have on
Yeah,
people.
because
Uh,
at the beginning, it is like, "Oh, look, it's aren't these look at these scoundrels at this, for our birthday, silly, having, cheat on their wives, ha, ha, ha." And then you're like, "Okay, that's a weird way of showing that." And then as it goes on, it's like, "Oh, no, this is not good."
yeah. So yeah, and so that's part of the reason why part of me is like I don't know how I feel about this because there it's I'm not going to say the film lost me at the premise, but kind of, and then it changes the premise, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there was part of me that was like, "Oh, come on, just if you're making more money, just buy a second apartment, and then they can do
Yeah,
whatever at the other one," you know?
yeah.
There was part of me that was thinking that, but, I think the screenplay is a really tight screenplay. They
Yes.
set up jokes, they pay off jokes, they set up this drama, they pay off, there's not a lot of wasted dialogue or things that are wasted. It's a
Mhm.
very, tight script.
Yeah, especially for the runtime. Which I also had this question, and you might be more informed about this than I am. I always assumed that like 2 hour films were like almost a recent thing. Like I thought films like for the most part used to be like a solid 90 minutes, and then there came a point in like the 2000s where 2 hours became the norm, and now we're getting to a point where 3 hours is becoming the norm. So like,
I don't think so. I mean, like, Gone with the Wind is, like, 3 hours. It's
okay,
films used to have intermissions back then too.
yeah,
So, yeah, I don't think that's a recent thing. I think that somewhere along the lines, they've kind of figured out, "Oh, 90 minutes, we can do this for a lot cheaper, get people in and out. That's the bare minimum we have to do." So, the other thing is, I don't think this was a subject that was talked about much. I guess 1960s is the beginning of the sexual revolutions, so this was not something that people really displayed much in movies,
oh
at least,
yeah.
especially not this. And I know Fred McMurray got a lot of hate for being in this. I was reading that women came up and would hit him with newspaper stuff on the street and stuff for being in this. So,
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that's like, I mean, if you hate him in this movie, he did a good job.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like people hating on the Joffrey kid. Like, yeah, he was the bad guy for the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones.
I was trying to think of what it compares to. I was like, well, this would be like Danny Tanner, Bob Saget in Full House being a villainous role, but he did do roles like that later on. So I was like, well, maybe it's like Bill Cosby. I was like, no, Bill Cosby's
Oh,
another bad example. Well, never mind. So
you know what it is? Have you seen the Way Way Back?
I don't think so. That doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, so that one will probably have to go on the list because it's a film that came out in 2013, and it's actually a film that was very formative for my teenage years, because it's about this kid um, who is like having to deal with. It's a coming of age story,
Mm.
and so he's hanging out with his mom and her. boyfriend, soon to probably be husband, um, and uh, the boyfriend he's not necessarily the bad guy because it's not that kind of movie. Um, but the boyfriend, well, first of all, the main character's like mentor figure at the water park is Sam Rockwell, and I think it's Sam Rockwell's best performance. Um, but the boyfriend, who's kind of just like this a-hole, like complete scumbag boyfriend, who's just always like he's kind of going behind her back, kind of cheating. He's kind of picking on this kid, but like in like almost like a nice way, which makes it even worse. It's Steve Carell. So that's kind of the vibe I think you're getting at is Steve Carell who doesn't he plays like if he plays a character with negative traits, it's always like not on purpose. Like Michael
Yeah,
Scott has
kind of like an innocent goofball type
yeah,
character.
but in the way back, I mean, he is just like he is the worst. There's the scene um, that where they're driving, and the reason it's called the way back is because the main character kid he sits in the way back of their station wagon. um, and so as Steve Carell's driving, he looks back at the kid and he says, "Hey, on a I want to get your confidence level. I want to see where you're at. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think your attractive level is at?" And the kid is just, he's 13. He's like, I don't know, maybe a 6. He's like, I think you're a 3.
Ugh.
Yeah, like he's the worst, and so like
Especially when someone's going through puberty.
yeah,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
the absolute worst time to hear something
Yeah,
like that.
I'm trying to remember who like I honestly I think you'd love it. I'm putting it on the list.
Okay.
I'm trying to and Maya Rudolph is in it, Sam Rockwell's in it. Oh, it's I'm trying to remember who plays oh, it was directed by Jim Rash, the dean.
Well, there you go.
uh Tony Collette's the mom. That's what I was trying to think of.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
this is not about the way back. This is about the apartment.
yeah. One of the things that this movie does with Shirley MacLaine's character is you, and this is not like trying to be stereotypes or judgmental. You see us a lot when women are in bad relationships with men and how they know they should leave, but then they're like, "Oh, but he loves me," and they keep going back. And there's times you get frustrated with her in this movie. You're like, "Oh, just run. Why aren't you?
Let,
What? There's the nice guy right in front of you. What are you doing?"
let me go ahead and just say this. This is something that my dad has always said, and my dad was a pastor. He's dealt with people um, who have, unfortunately, and it's not just in the church and the Christian religion, but cheating does come up. Um, if he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you.
Yeah.
So that's yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's why I'm so conflicted about this film is I don't know what the statistics of a pastor having to deal with cheating couples is, but I feel like my dad had to deal with them a lot when he was a
It's a
pastor.
lot. It is a
Yeah.
lot. So we're gonna switch over to spoilers. This movie, we watched it on for free on Tubi.
Yep.
And so it's readily available. I I personally recommend it. It is some tough subjects, but I do think it is a good movie. Just know what you're getting into.
That I think that's the big thing is that because, like I said, I went into this completely blind, having no idea what I was getting into. I actually didn't know this was nominated for awards.
Yeah,
So
they nominated Jack Lemmon. He didn't win. Shirley MacLaine didn't win, and then they nominated the Doctor Neighbor, which I thought was interesting. He did
oh,
not win. So I was like, okay. So, all right, we're gonna flip over to spoilers now. Like I said, I encourage people to try out classics.
Yeah.
So
I don't. As someone who, once again, like I said, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't regret watching it. I feel like this is a very there's a reason that these films are well regarded, and even if you're not a fan of them, there's still an enriching part to
yeah,
it.
and if you want something a little bit more lighthearted with Jack Lemmon by Billy Wilde or Irma La Douche or Some Like It Hot, will probably be more your speed.
Yeah.
Um, so anyhow, Irma La Douche is about a brothel, and Shirley MacLaine is a lady of the night, and Jack Lemmon is like a cop who is too good at his job, kind of like Hot Fuzz, where
Mhm.
he's too good at his job, so they fire him, and to survive, he has to become the pimp of the uh, of the brothel. It's pretty funny. So, all right, so let's switch over here to a spoiler review. Okay, so Shirley MacLaine's character she is like a elevator operator at the insurance building, and she comes at first. She's like a very innocent, hot girl that everybody kind of likes, and then you come to find out that she's having an affair with the I guess he's the executive of the company.
Yeah. If anything, he definitely is Jack Lemmon's boss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the higher up, and if and he comes, Fred McMurray's character finds out about the apartment, and because they keep, it's kind of dumb. They keep sending the key through the mail in the building. So obviously something is going on. There's a key going back and forth. You would think you would just be in the lobby and hand them the key, or something.
I thought that was one of the funnier things, and I don't think it was meant to be funny, but it's kind of like in a situation like this where you really don't want to trail, you're sending a lot of mail.
Yes, yes, and uh the CEO or whatever he is, his secretary is very nosy about all this. So I mean, there's obviously something going on.
Hmm.
Um, and so he is getting promotions doing all this, even though he's like Jack Lemmon's character, Baxter. He is getting promotions from this, even though his neighbors think he's a horrible person. There's constant music coming out from, they constantly see girls going in and out of his apartment. They see him carrying out big trash cans of empty beer and, wine and everything. And like, it could be all hours of the night they need the apartment. And he's like out on the streets in New York and stuff. So Fred McMurray finds out about it. And at first he thinks he's in trouble. And then he's like, oh, you just want the key like everybody else, and you're having an affair. So there's a little bit of the trope that gets on my nerves, where there's a secret, and it's just like if people would talk to each other, it would come out. But this one handles it pretty well. Um, where uh, Jack Lemmon's character likes Shirley MacLaine, but he doesn't know that Shirley MacLaine is cheating with the boss. The boss and Jack Lemmon doesn't know that he's lending the apartment for Shirley MacLaine to go over there, and he doesn't know that, and she doesn't know that it's his apartment. So there's all these like secrets, and it kind of slowly throughout the film they start figuring it out, and it kind of breaks his heart. And I thought the symbolism of the broken mirror, her broken makeup mirror, was interesting.
Hmm.
Um, just that she's broken aside, and also it's a two-face, type thing when you look in the mirror. And so at the beginning, like I said, the affairs are fun. Look, we're having affairs, and then it takes a turn, and Fred McMurray keeps leading her on, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna divorce my wife soon," and she's like, "You're lying to me," and she, there's a lot of friction there, but he keeps leading her on, and she keeps falling for it. Um, Eventually, I'm trying to remember what the catalyst is. Eventually, she takes all the sleeping pills and tries to kill herself. I'm trying to remember if something specific happened or she just. Oh, she was at the. I remember she was at the Christmas party, and she heard from the secretary. The secretary was the former fling, and then it was someone else, and then it was someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a. Fred McMurray is such a scumbag in this movie. He's awful. He goes to he's like, "Oh, you got me a Christmas present. Thank you. Here's $100. Go buy some for yourself." And it makes her feel like she's a prostitute. And it's yeah, it was heartbreaking and hard to watch. And that's when the movie turns. It takes this turn. I mean, it was kind of going that way anyways, but yeah. And so the neighbor is a doctor. um Jack Lemmon figures out that she's the one having the affair with the boss, and so he goes and picks up a girl at a bar, brings her home, and then finds out that Shirley MacLaine is overdosed in the bed. And he goes and gets the doctor next door. The doctor thinks that he's causing all this, and they all hate Jack Lemmon, which I'm just like, grow a spine, stop lying for everybody.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's. I mean, if you think about it, anyone with a spine wouldn't have let this happen to begin with.
Or if it happened one time, maybe I could see that, but it wouldn't be this everybody taking advantage of you. It just, I don't know. It was just, it was out of hand. I was thinking about it. It's like a guy trying to sleep his way to the top without actually sleeping with anybody. It's yeah. So that's when it gets really dark, and he's like, she's like, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom." He's like, "Okay," and he goes in there and he takes all the razors out, the razor blades and stuff, and it's like, "Oh, we're handling this really, you know, we're going there." And like when she opens the window, he's freaking out because she's opening the window and stuff, and yeah, it gets dark.
Yep.
Um, so even through all this, what happens is the secretary tells Fred McMurray's wife, so now he is getting divorced, and Jack Lemmon gets I guess he's like the vice president of the company position, and Shirley MacLaine is going to run off with Fred McMurray even after all this has happened. And this is like the battered wife syndrome, where they just keep going back even though they have been through all this pain. Um, but at the end, Jack Lemmon, he asks for the key again, and Jack Lemmon tells him no, and he loses his job over it. And then at the New Year's Eve party, Shirley MacLaine realizes that she doesn't love Fred McMurray; she loves Jack Lemmon, and runs off. There's it's almost kind of a mean joke at the end where she's running up the stairs and you hear a gunshot, and you think that Jack Lemmon has shot himself, but he was just opening the champagne. That was the sound we heard.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, at the end, you see it. She's finally made the right choice, and she talks about how she's had a history of picking the wrong men throughout. So it's kind of a hopeful note that there is hope for people that are stuck in situations like that at the end. Um, but yeah, that is The Apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I've been talking for a while. Go ahead.
It. It is definitely. It's definitely one that's like you can see how it could win. Best picture, um, and how you're not sure if it would be for drama or comedy.
That's why I said this movie does a magic trick.
Yeah.
It changes the genre and it just does it perfectly. And you don't see movies do. I mean, you'll see like something like Groundhog Day. It's a comedy, but then it starts getting a little bit more serious towards the end. But it's still a comedy. This one really, really went there, and I, yeah, I've never, I've never heard of someone having an affair and it turned out great for everybody involved. it,
Hmm.
it never does. So I think that I think this movie is should be commended for that because, like I said at the beginning, it's oh hey, it's fun. Look, I found a girl looks like Marilyn Monroe. She's goofy. We're okay. Use your apartment, haha. And then it goes there. So that's the apartment. You got anything else you want to say about before we move on?
Uh, no, no. There's not a whole lot. I mean, it's one of those older films that we've seen a lot of movies like this since then. But this one's kind of like the original. I believe Cameron would have compared it to John Carter, Man from Mars, John Carter of Mars, or something like whatever that story is called, where there's nothing exceptional about the science fiction of it. And I'm not saying that there's nothing exceptional about this, because I think at this point, I I don't think a lot of movies nowadays would have made the switch in the middle.
No,
If it's a comedy, it's a comedy.
or
uh,
they would have screwed it up.
yeah,
This one does it very well. Uh, I this is gonna sound weird. I think a lot of the screenplay for Monsters Incorporated, how strong that screenplay is. Like every line is setting up a joke, and every line is setting up an event, and it's just a very tight script. And I don't think Monsters Inc. is the best picture film by far, but that script is so tight. And the script is the screenplay is incredible, and the his screenplay won an Oscar. So yeah, they agree with me. So
put put that on the back of your DVD case. It
yeah,
reminded me of Monsters Incorporated.
yes, a screenplay as good as Monsters Incorporated. Uh, so so here at Culture Shark, we switch between movies and comics. So next week we are going to read a classic comic story, Iron Man Demon in a Bottle. This is I think the most famous Iron Man story. I'm trying to think if there's anything more famous.
I think pre MCU, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
uh,
I think Extremis got a little bit of a bump after Iron Man 3.
yeah, but even after that, I feel like this is one like when you're talking about the greatest comic stories of all time, this one comes up, even when you're not talking
Absolutely.
about Iron Man. So, I've
Have
never
you?
read this. I'm excited to read it.
Okay.
I'm really excited with our format change. We're getting to watch a lot of movies that I otherwise would never watch, and comic stories I would otherwise never read because I am not an Iron Man fan. So, uh, very cool.
I'm excited. I have read Demon in a Bottle. I love it, and so I think I think you're in for a treat, especially uh, after what we endured last week.
Yes, yes. So, this will be Iron Man issues 120 through 128. So we'll be doing a full review of this next week. But until next time, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.